Hey there, YouTubers. You may see that I have a Python logo on this sweater, and I am quite partial to Python, and Python is brought up as a topic in some of my playlists here. But if you look at what I'm doing now, well, quadray coordinates is the usual thing, but I'm also building them in the Rust language. So here's a cargo build, and it seemed to build fine, right? I didn't actually try to run it at that point. If I do a run, that might be when I get the dead code reminder. Let's see. No, it just ran fine. It ran fine. So let's take a look at what Rust looks like. Now, you've probably heard of it. It's one of the new fast growing state of the art languages. It's got an online playground, kind of like the REPL. REPLIT. In fact, maybe REPLIT has a Rust environment. I kind of doubt it, but let's go take a look. REPL.it, in case you don't know what I'm talking about, is another place on the web, at least in 2019. Now, these tapes can get dated eventually. I'll show you websites and resources that have long vanished. Partly why I show so much of my own stuff is because it's another way of backing it up, right? So get your ideas out there, sign up, log in. I don't know if it's going to remember my authentication credentials. It looks like it's going to. So this is another place where you can work out and practice. I'll push this languages button here because I think, okay, now we can see what we have here. So there's Rust, right? So you want to practice Rust in this environment and HTML, JS, and all this stuff. So there's all this cool stuff. And I'm using Rust locally on my computer right now, not in the cloud that much. And I'm going through, all the documentation, what everybody has to go through when they're learning a new language, right? And there's enough similarities with Python and enough differences that, I'm eating my own dog food here because I'm always telling people study at least two languages at all times, right? So that you always have that edge of contrast because that helps you learn, even if one's front burner and the other's back burner. So you could say I'm following that advice here and that I'm scrolling through all this code that has to do with these quadray coordinates, right? Now, if you think that synergetic geometry, which is what was branded by the Bucky Fuller School, is a big nothing burger, then this is not that interesting a project per se. You may think Python and Rust are cool, but not a vector addition that bases itself off four directions in space instead of three positive and three negative. So this is the coordinate system known as Quadrays, and I use it in my Jupyter notebooks to compute the center points of CCP balls, FCC balls, right? At the centers of what in the Bucky language we'd call the IVM, isotropic vector matrix. It's like it's a uniform distribution. It's better than like, oh, what do you want to call it, BCC? It's got that uniform density, and for a lattice, it's as good as you can go in terms of density. So it has a lot of attractive qualities, and it wasn't invented by anyone in particular. We don't have to go that far. But, it was deeply studied by many people and a source of fascination for many people and continues to be that. And we want to explore this space, let's say, using linear algebra. And so there's the standard vector that you can all use, say, by the end of high school, XYZ. But then you want to start to implement it in some computer language, let's say. So that's the kind of thing I'm doing here in Python. And now in Rust, right? So here we have two windows, but I'm really just using one of them. And let's see, why do I have two windows all of a sudden? Are they side by side? This is the VS Code by Microsoft. So I think I can just close this whole window. So yeah, if you haven't seen Rust before, you can do all the things you do with modules and file systems that you do in Python, import and stuff like that. But it's very locked down. It's a very nailed down, very like strict language. So they talk about like you're beating your head against the wall. That's the metaphor they often use. But when you've worked through it, you've got something that works. And again, I'm no super expert. I'm like the AA battery, right? But I do use, as I was saying, I do use these Quadray coordinates, which I've implemented in Clojure for practice, mostly Python, right? Which has nice operator overloading. So Python has been a good environment for me and Synergetics to work out together. But you know, I'm in the IT world and I always want to learn new languages. So I'm attacking Rust again and finding it pretty interesting. Then there's Golang. We talked about Go a couple videos ago, right? These are the hot languages at the end of the first couple decades of the 21st century. Python, Golang, and Rust. Not that there aren't other hot languages. That's just I'm not doing an exclusive list there. I'm doing an include, like keep adding to that. Keep adding to that. All right, I'll be going up Mount Tabor here with Patrick. I'm not putting any of this in my repo because at this point I'm just a beginner, a newbie. I'm a AA battery. There's super Rust coders out there who might not know about Quadrays though. So I'm always saying, hey, if you want a fun little project to work on and a context for it as well, come to this page in Wikipedia and get the story there and then watch some more of my YouTubes because I'll give you a lot of background. All right, talk to you later.